Hello everybody, I'm Jim Durrett, Mayor of Montgomery County, and this is another one of our series of really shining the spotlight where the spotlight needs to be shown. As I've said many times, the mayor's office gets a lot of credit and we don't deserve it. And so today I've got the pleasure of interviewing my friend and the chief of our EMS department, Bill Webb. Bill, how are you?
Doing well, thank you, sir.
I'm gonna call you Chief from now on. I called you Bill there, but I'm gonna call you Chief.
Bill is fine.
Okay.
Bill is fine.
So let's start off and just give us just some history about Bill Webb.
Grew up in a small town north of here, Guthrie, Kentucky. So when you reached 19 or 20 and you were in the rescue squad, volunteer rescue squad or fire service, and you advanced to the EMS side of it, you wanted to work in Montgomery County. It was a huge service. Back at that time, there were 2 stations, 3 trucks on the road a day, but I mean, it just had a very well known positive name for
Yeah.
EMS.
So what got you started in that?
I grew up and volunteered for the Todd County Rescue Squad.
So you're rescue squad, not fire,
Rescue Squad.
volunteer rescue squad.
Started at the EMS service in Todd County, Kentucky. It was volunteer as well. Once I received my Tennessee EMT license, that's when I applied for Montgomery County and was hired in November of 1987.
November of 1987. So equate that to me in years service. How long have you been
We're
here?
right about 30 something.
Yeah.
Right at 30 years.
Yeah. And so you were actually EMT in Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got your Tennessee license.
Reciprocity.
It was reciprocity. I knew it'd be hard for you to pass 2 tests. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, talk about what's a typical day look like for you?
In my current role?
Yeah, in your current role. Now let me back up because you came up through the ranks. You
Yes.
started in 97, you said?
Yes, sir.
And it's 2023, of 30 years plus. Talk about what you did during that time period.
So started in 87. As
87, I said 97.
As an EMT, we transitioned to the EMT IV, which allowed us to initiate IVs. In 1994, I graduated with my paramedic license. And in 97, Jimmy Edwards hired me at the Gateway Hospital in the emergency room. I functioned there part-time as a paramedic. We functioned as a nurse. After about year 3, he offered me full-time. So it was a big decision to weigh that out. 24/48 at EMS or working in a hospital setting, a 12-hour shift. But with that, you got to see the other end of the treatment spectrum. We're at EMS, we're the first one there. We're limited on our treatment, but when we get to the hospital side, we get to continue on to see that. So I worked there for about 10 years and then came back to EMS as a paramedic, went back to school, received a bachelor's in management, and there was a lieutenant's position that came open in training, and I applied for that first time, didn't get it. Applied again the second time and was achieved that position, and then as time progressed, I was assistant chief over administration, and then appointed chief right about 4.5 years ago.
Yeah. That EMS community, paramedic community, whatever you call it, it's a pretty close-knit bunch, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It truly is.
Yeah, pretty close-knit bunch. I've just noticed that through the years since I've been county mayor. I mean, everybody's always got everybody's back for sure.
Well, when you think about EMS in the state of Tennessee, 2022 marks the 50-year anniversary of EMS in the state of Tennessee. So in a sense, EMS is still young here.
Yeah.
It started in 72, so it's still fairly young.
Yeah. Chief, talk to me about something that you think has been a significant improvement since you've been chief that's made a difference in the department or maybe in the county as a whole.
Well, it's nothing that I've done on my own, I promise you. It's a team effort, and it starts with you. Yes, sir, it does. It starts with you and the full commission, because to be a number 1 service or grade A service, as we say, it takes the equipment that to perform the skills that we do. And when you talk about equipment, and we've got the most latest equipment out there. When we talk about ambulances, you know, an ambulance is just not an ambulance. There's different degrees, safety-wise. We've got some of the top safety factors built into these ambulances. And anytime we need something, it's always there.
Commission's been good about that.
They have been excellent, yes, sir.
Yeah, in my almost 8 years, the Commission's been very responsive to our first responder community.
Yes, sir.
They really have. They really have. What would you tell somebody that was graduating high school and that wanted to go into the EMS field?
So you've gotta want to make a change in someone's life. I mean, you can be paid, the salary can go to the skies, but when you respond to a call and that person's having chest pain and having a heart attack and they go into cardiac arrest and essentially they are dead, but you use your knowledge and skills that you've learned and the equipment that you have and the medications, and you get a pulse back on that patient and that patient wakes up, that is the most rewarding experience that I've ever felt.
That's strong. That is strong. That is strong. Did I ask you what your typical day looks like?
You did, I think I sort of.
I think you pivoted off
of that. Yeah. So it consists of morning meeting with Chief Proctor. We'll sit down and go over what the agenda looks like, because we can set an agenda on a Friday, what we're gonna do on Monday, and after the weekend.
You probably said it Monday morning, what you're gonna do Monday afternoon.
Yeah, it's completely changed. But we get our game plan together. Right now, we're in the process of interviewing several folks, full-time and part-time, so that's taken the majority of our time. I also meet with the women in our billing office, our office manager, our logistics, and meetings, responding by telephone calls, where we are in revenue, looking at the budget. And I'm also on the board of directors of Tennessee Ambulance Service Association, TASA. So I've attend meetings with them. We have our EMS directors meeting, Region 5 out of Nashville, and it's busy.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned something a lot of people don't know, but the billing aspect of EMS is a pretty big thing in itself.
You know, in '87, I think everyone looked at EMS as just a service. It's a business right now. We've been in business for years. And with the way the health insurance pays, I mean, we're all the time looking at ways of cutting back to decrease that expense that we have, but it's a business. You have to run it like a business.
Well, I interviewed our Director of Emergency Services, and I don't know how these things are airing, who goes first, who's second, doesn't really matter, but I think I'm gonna know the answer to this, but talk about short-term and long-term challenges for the EMS department.
Well, staffing, that sort of goes into it's in short term, and it also leads into long term, because we just don't know what the future's gonna hold. There's the schools are only pushing out so many EMTs and paramedics. We've got to do something to get those individuals when they graduate high school into this program. And we have sort of captured that here in Montgomery County. It was a dream that started about 8 or 10 years ago with the help of Director Edwards and Austin P. That dream we had has come true. So we held our first EMT basic course in our training facility through Austin P. And we're just looking at doing an advanced EMT program, and hopefully down the road paramedics. So that is huge for that to happen.
Well, and I know there's a lot of other initiatives at the state level to try to do things for the EMS organization. And as you said, the EMS organization, when you talk about some of the other first responders, there's some stipends that are available to those employees that aren't available to EMS. the bridge retirement,
Exactly.
which is huge,
Very much
which
so.
is huge, but it's not available to EMS and they're a first responder. So I guess that kind of speaks of the infancy of
It
the
is, it does.
organization compared to a police department or a sheriff's department.
Oh, it does.
Or a paid fire department.
You're correct.
I know one of your, I know one of your goals, visions, there's a lot of words I could use, but to go to a 12-hour shift would be absolutely huge, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir. And we feel, one, that the 24/48 is a dangerous shift. Last year we made a little over 34,000 responses here in Montgomery County. And that's taken out of the national transfer side of it. So, we're very busy with 911 calls. If we can, and we're going, I'm not gonna say if we can, we're going to, Chief Proctor myself are working on that right now. It's just to move to that model, you've gotta have staff.
You gotta have people.
So we think we're on the cusp of switching over one truck to
Yeah.
one of our shift makers.
Awesome.
We're hoping that will bring extra interest.
Yeah. And I think, to speak a little bit more about that, because you and I have had so many conversations about staffing and with Chief Proctor and with Director Edwards. I mean, we've had lots of conversations about it. But when you talk about it, so our pay is equal to Nashville.
Yes.
If not maybe a little bit better, but Nashville's on 12-hour, we're on 24.
Yes.
And so the call volume per shift is double, basically here, than what it is there. And I mean, it's really, really hard for people to continue to work at that pace.
Oh, it is. Working 24/48, it's a young person's
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
Once you get on up in age, I mean, you've got the back injuries, and that could be a life-ending injury or career-ending injury for someone.
What about COVID?
Wow, it was tough. It was tough. I truly felt sorry for our staff because, I mean, they're in the back of the ambulance, they're working that 24-hour shift, and they were constantly with a mask on.
I mean, it's full PPE.
Yes, sir.
Back probably prior to March of 2020.
Yes, sir. And I never heard them fuss, and I commend them for what they did.
Yeah.
But it was rough. At one time, we had about 20 people out at one time with it.
Yeah. And I don't know, people probably realize this, but probably don't think about it much, but you respond to a traffic accident, and we don't want anybody to ever be hurt, but let's just say somebody shook up pretty bad. I mean, y'all are gonna get a call.
Yes, sir.
And y'all got that call, and here's this COVID out there. This was back during trying to get testing done. It's way before vaccinations were done. And I mean, y'all had to treat every single call like
it was COVID.
like they had COVID.
Yes, sir.
Like they had COVID. And that had to be grueling.
It was. I mean, it was very difficult on the staff.
Yeah.
And a lot of the folks, would leave us and work a part-time job somewhere else.
Yeah.
So not a lot of downtime for them.
Right. What would you tell somebody, why should they come to work for Montgomery County EMS?
It's a growing service. And I'm upfront with everybody that we've interviewed. I stress to them that we're busy. I mean, if you're looking for a place to come to and not do anything, this is not it. Not by far. But we've been lucky. The few folks we've interviewed, they're wanting to come to a busy service. They're wanting to utilize their skills. The pay is phenomenal, is what we've been told. Also, they bring up, we hope that you will go to that 12-hour shift. But we're a great service, we're a growing service, community is growing. I mean, within the next few short years, we're gonna have to look at putting another station out off Tynestown Road because that zone is becoming busier. And one thing that we've always done ever since when Chief Edwards was in my position, family comes first. And that's what we've continued on, Chief Proctor and myself. And all we ask is if you come to work, if you treat the patients and their family members like you want to be treated or want your family to be treated, then we're golden.
Yeah.
That's all we ask.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you another question about Montgomery County, but you said something. So when you look at the county as a whole, talk about the busy zones. St. Bethlehem area,
Same
that's your number one, but that zone, what zone is that?
22.
22, that's a big zone.
It
though.
is, yes,
Yeah.
it captures the mall, portion of the interstate. You've got, excuse me, zone 26 is off Town Road at Hazelwood School, and it's probably 12% of the call volume. Medic 28, which is right downtown at the bottom of Boot Hill, the rescue squad building, it's a very busy station, and that's gonna be the first truck we transition to 12-hour shift.
Yeah, awesome. So, you're gonna have to think about this question.
Okay.
All these other ones, it's just all up there in your head, but now I'm gonna really make you think.
Okay.
So, you're not from Montgomery County, but why would you tell somebody if you met them out on the street and they asked you a question or something and you found out they were thinking about moving to Montgomery County, why would you tell them to move to Montgomery County?
Well, so when you look at Montgomery County, you sort of got three groups here, I guess you could say. Well, you've got the South, you've got the urban side of it, and you've got the military. And I think Montgomery County is a very patriotic community. I think we're large, but we're not like Davidson County. So we have hustle and bustle here, but nothing like they have in Davidson County. We sort of have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You can get what Nashville has here. We're a short hop to Nashville.
Right.
But it's that small town feeling.
So when you talk about the South, you're talking about southern Montgomery County, the rural area, and then
No.
you're talking about the urban area.
No, I'm talking about the South. Just
Yeah.
being from the South.
Yeah, southern hospitality?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you a question, because my last question is, and I'm gonna still ask it to you again, but you've had a long career in this, and you talked about the military. But I've heard so many stories of where y'all may be on the scene, or you've arrived at a scene where just somebody from the general public has stepped up and helped care for somebody. That has to be a very rewarding experience, to know that there's people that live in our community that see something bad happen, that may get somebody out of a burning vehicle, or it may be a nurse.
Sure.
May be a nurse and start doing some triage or, some stabilization stuff without, and I'm sure there's been times, and I know I've read about it, where there's been guys or girls in the military that have got out and had their medical bag with them. I mean, it's just one of the cool things about living in a community like we live in.
You're exactly right. And it's just, a lot of times, up in the big cities, you don't see the public stepping in a lot to render aid, because, fear of lawsuits,
Yeah.
fear of this and everything else. But no, it's very gratifying for us and the staff that's on scene to know that somebody stepped in, already initiated patient care.
Yeah.
And that could make the difference.
Yeah. So you talked earlier about most gratifying experience, somebody that was going through cardiac arrest and doing CPR, life-saving treatment, and see that pulse come back. What's something else that's gratifying for you?
So, there's a lot of things. This is not candid, but I work for the people in our department. I work for them. I go to bat for them. And it's an honor to do that. It's a great team. Montgomery County EMS is not about me. It's not about Chief Proctor, not about just one person. It's a team that makes up Montgomery County EMS. And when I'm in my office or in the bay or at one of the stations, and a crew member comes up to us and says, "Let me tell you about this call. Let me tell you about the difference I made in this person." That's gratifying.
Wow.
Because they put themselves through school. They've come back to work. They live here in the community, and it's to make a difference in someone's life, even if it's just transporting an elderly person to the ER, just holding their hand, talking to them to the hospital.
Letting them know everything's gonna be okay.
That's just as important as pushing this medication.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anything I failed to ask you that you'd like to tell everybody? I'm sure there's a joke or two you'd like to tell me, but I'm not gonna let you go there.
If you're interested in EMS, reach out to us. If you're interested in becoming an EMT, or paramedic, reach out to us. We've got a home, we've got vacancies, so reach out to us.
Well, I tell you, it's truly an honor to serve along beside you. I know how passionate you are for your people, and you're passionate for your people because of what your people do for people in Montgomery County, and I just admire you for that. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.